So good morning and welcome to the April 21st, 2020 Virtual Operations Committee. We have a full agenda today and we're going to start off with 21st Century Schools update. Dorothy?
Okay. Joseph? Joseph is going to be my scribe for today. My screener. Very happy that we're still able to meet under these interesting conditions. And one of the things I wanted to do is I added COVID-19 impact statement to our presentation because I wanted you to be aware of what was happening on our school projects. So the agenda after that kind of remains the same. We talk about plan year 1, 2 schools, the construction progress, swing update, go through local hiring, student internship, and then some community engagement. Next slide. So where COVID-19 is concerned, I want you to know that our projects continue because we're still under the order of the governor of the state of Maryland. We're still considered an essential company in a sense. And so based on that, we're able to remain open. MSA did want to provide an update on COVID-19, again, understanding that construction does provide a lot of jobs within the community, the local community. They wanted the board to be assured, and city schools, that they will continue to work on all the construction projects unless the governor comes out with something that's very different that says, you know, we have to stop. But until then, our 5 projects that are in queue to be delivered this year, actually 3 this year and 2 next year, we're continuing to stay on schedule with those. MSA remains committed to pushing forward with all our contractors, and 21st Century is doing the same as well. Next slide. So where our 21st Century internal staff is concerned, we have approximately 28 staff working. Right now, most of us are working from home. We do intermittent stops into the office, but for the most part, we work from home. We go to project sites. We're following the CDC. We're following Baltimore City public schools, their safety arrangements. And now we're following OSHA, which actually came out yesterday under Governor Hogan. We're doing our social distancing. PPE is very important for us. Gloves, we know, are mandatory right now. And a lot of what we're doing, as we're doing right now, is doing a lot of virtual meetings, and we're filling out health questionnaires, and we're also using thermometers on site to make sure that we can actually test the temperature of folks that are coming in to our facilities. Next slide. Do we have any? I can take questions afterwards, but let me just run through the progress of Plan Year 1 schools. Again, of all the schools that we have, we only have, of all the 11 schools, there's only 1 school that's not yet complete, and that is Patterson Claremont, and that will be completed for next year. But all other schools are open. Next slide. Plan Year 2 schools, of which we have 17 schools, 4 has been open.
Dorothy, excuse me, if you're on the meeting, if you could mute your phone, please, or computer. Thanks. Go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dorothy.
Okay, so I just muted.
No, I just wanted, there was someone else who we heard him in the background.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm good. Oh, so for the 17 schools that we have in year 2, again, for a complete, we do expect, we are working on Mary E. Rodman right now, and that is still on schedule to be opened in July of this year. That school does have an early opening in August. Next slide. And next slide. Okay. Just wanted to give you, because we're not able to make contact in person, I just wanted to show you some slides of what was happening, some pictures of what was occurring on site. These are just pictures of the new addition at the main entrance. That again is already fully clad in. They tend to work very fast as we near the end of the program. That's the play equipment that's being installed towards the back of the property, or kitchen as part of our school readiness, or equipment is on site. And you're actually looking at the gym on the lower right of your screen. Next slide. And that is for Mayor E. Rodman. Next slide. Joseph? Just a little bit of a technical difficulty. Joseph, can you move to the next slide?
We're looking at the swing location update.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're delayed or not.
Maybe I could be delayed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I wasn't able to see the last two, but then right now we're on swing location. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Do you want to go back to the other two photographs?
We can actually go back through. Yes. Awesome.
So now it's showing Walter P. Carter.
Excellent.
Medfield.
Okay. So again, just wanted to show you the progress that we are having on our construction site, and want you to know that we have not skipped a beat in a sense. We're still continuing. We do have, our workers are all showing up on the project site. We do have full crews. In fact, I think in some cases we do have a few extra crews because projects in surrounding areas in Pennsylvania have shut down. And so some of the crews have been coming across to our project sites. And what we're trying to do is to actually accelerate as much as possible the construction, not knowing what's going to happen. So these are progress pictures of Walter P. Carter, and below that is the progress photo of Medfield Heights. And those are going to be delivered at the end of the year. Next year, we're looking at Patterson Claremont, again, in full stride under construction. Calverton just got kicked off. That's the demo of the old building. The site is cleared, and now we're going to start our utilities in the next few weeks. Next slide. And this is our swing location update. We have 5 schools that are actually going through the swing process this year. Mary E. Rodman is going to be moving to her permanent home in July, August of this year. Highlandtown and Montebello, they're going to be moving into swing spaces because their buildings are going to be under construction. And of course, we have 2 schools. We have Sarah M. Roach. That school is going to be moving into Mary E. Rodman. And we have another school, the third, the middle schoolers, they're going to be moving into Baybrook. Next slide. The supply chain is very important to us. Knowing what's happening in our world right now, and trying to figure out what's happening with our furniture, fixtures, and equipment, not knowing whether or not they're being delivered on time, we made a decision to kind of fast track a few of our items because a lot of our items are actually procured outside of the country. For FF&E, or technology, items, a lot of our devices actually come from China. So we have to be very careful about our delivery time schedule, knowing that some of our ports are actually shut down. Another portion of our furniture and finishes that actually that are needed for our students are actually, some comes from China, but then others come from Germany. We have some from Texas, we have from Pennsylvania, North Carolina, the list kind of goes on. So what we also did, in addition to planning for Mary E. Rodman, we went ahead and proactively started putting the package together for Medfield and for Walter P. Carter, because those are opening in December, to ensure that our technology items and our furniture items are actually here ahead of time. Our preference is to actually have these in storage and be ready to be installed on the project site than to not be able to open the school because these were not ordered in time. So we're being very proactive in our supply chain. Next slide. Local hiring. This is we're not able to do a proper tracking of local hiring at this time, and that's because our human capital department, we actually run the background clearances for all the staffers that actually work on our construction site. We average around approximately 180 each month requiring clearances. Right now, our offices are closed, but we did create a workaround in agreement with our Human Capital Office and in agreement with Maryland Stadium Authority and with our construction managers. So we do a manual where we have the potential worker actually fill out a form that is submitted to us. We keep it in queue with the intention that as soon as our offices are open, we're able to actually tackle this backlog. If in fact the background check comes back negative, that person will be removed from site. But again, the risk is not to us, the risk is to the construction manager. At this time, I think we have hired approximately 30 something workers. And again, it's critical workers, ones that are needed to actually push the project towards completion. It's not for general workers at this time, it's for workers that we deem to be critical to the process of getting things done, where this temporary workaround is actually needed. Next slide. Internship also took a hit during this time as well. Again, over the past 3 years, we kind of interned, worked with 18 students. We were hoping to get 10 for this year. We were on track for that. However, our system is not one where you can have an internship over the internet or a virtual internship. It is actually hands-on, on-site. We did not want to create a risk for students, but further to that, we did not have companies signing up. They have a lot to address right now with regards to making sure that their staff is safe, so they weren't able to extend any opportunities during this season, which would have started in March for those 10 students. We're looking at what summer will bring forward for this, for our partnership, and we're also looking as to whether or not this can be extended through December. But the fact is, I think we have to work through COVID-19 to see what kind of opportunities are there for our high school students. But for right now, this is on pause, and rightfully so. Next slide. Community engagement is also changing. We're going through, again, we're partnering with MSA because this is a requirement under the MOU for us to have specific calls and to have coordination with the community. So we've been looking at different platforms to continue engagement with the community. In addition to the robocalls and the newsletters and the conference calls and the updates to our site, we are going to be hosting virtual meetings. Our first virtual meeting is going to be held tomorrow. And we will be testing that to see whether or not that works. We'll be looking at the community, whether or not we're able to get a lot of folks actually joining in on that call. We're actually going to be testing it, looking for barriers as well. But our first virtual presentation actually starts tomorrow. Next slide. And again, we march forward not knowing what the future holds. We're still proceeding with planning for Mayor E. Rodman to be open. We do have the grand opening event currently tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, August the 26th. This is a date that is on the mayor's calendar, so we're holding it for right now. But again, it's a save the date. Not sure what's going to happen with COVID, but we're hoping for the best. And I think that's the end, right? Do we have any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, I have one. I guess my question is, this is pretty easy. You guys are using a nice temperature measurement gauge for people on the sites.
Yes.
How will, I mean, I know this is looking ahead, but are there some best practices that you guys can get from this that can help the whole system once it decides, and if it decides, to do the same temperature thing for people coming back to school?
It is something that can be considered. It's something that we're going to have to coordinate with our chief of staff or facilities or principals and everyone else. But right now, it's actually working well on our project sites. I should say, through disclosure, that throughout all this process, we've had 2 positive cases of COVID on our site, one at Medfield and one at Mary E. Rodman. One was discovered again visually. The other was discovered through the thermostat, kind of using that. So that is something that I know is being used on multiple construction sites, not only in America, but around the world.
I have a question. Your public meeting that you're starting tomorrow, is it possible? I'd like to join that and just to see how you guys do that.
Absolutely.
What time is it? When does it start?
Hold on for a minute and let me go through. I can actually send that information to you through Joe right after this meeting by the time we're done.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll send that through Joe. So
Could you share that with me too, please?
Actually, we'll just share it with the entire committee if you'd like to be there.
Are there other questions?
I do. It's Commissioner Roberts. Good morning, everybody. Sorry for any noise in the background. It's my 7-year-old. My question is actually about the transition of the students from Sarah Roachman to Mary E. Rodman. Has there been any further discussion about the transportation issue?
I do know that they have planned a walking bus tour. Again, a lot of things that we had planned had somehow been derailed. I know that our engagement team continues to reach out to the principal. I know that there has been joint meetings between the principals of Sarah M. Roach and Principal Guzman at Mary E. Rodman, and that they are working out a process for transition with the students. At this point, I am going to say I'm not sure that providing transportation at this time is going to be an option for that school. So we continue to look forward and to work through safe walking routes. Commissioner Roberts?
I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Can
you.
I piggyback on that question? Oh, I'm sorry, Chantel, you're not done.
Oh, no, I thought I cut someone off.
Oh, okay.
No, this is Jacinta. So we have explored a bus from the kids that live outside of the eligibility requirement. They would receive a bus. We just have not decided on the exact location of it would be a corner-to-corner type bus. So we just haven't mapped out the exact spots for the students and where they live. But if they live outside of that 1 mile radius, they will be eligible for transportation.
That's very helpful to hear, Jacinta. So thank you. I do also have another question about, and it's actually not really a question because I don't know if there's anyone on the call who could answer it, but I know that Commissioner Roberts and I visited that school earlier this year, and there were some concerns about the culture and climate of the new school that they will be attending. And so given kind of where we are now, I know that our district likes to do a lot of blending of the school communities prior to the students having to show up. I'm just curious, has there been any thinking around how we can do that or creative ways to do that while we are in this position of COVID-19, or are we just going to wait it out and try to do some things later on?
Well, it's not that we're trying to wait it out, because I know that Renee, our engagement manager, is on top of this with her 2 associates. The problem is, even if we're trying to do beta tests with regards to how many of the community, how many of the teachers, how many of the parents will actually show up for a virtual meeting. We know that there are barriers sometimes with regards to having access to a computer, having access to even to a program to be able to join into a virtual conversation. And so we continue to work with the principals as to what is the best way to actually do engagement right now. But it's not off the table. We do know that it's a concern, but right now, most of our communication is with the two principals trying to come up with a plan as to what that would look like.
Thank you.
And I will just also say that Renee has very graciously offered to work to be the site lead at one of our meal sites. So she is doing that at John Rura, helping make sure that that site is working, and then doing this on top of that. So, I mean, I know she's not forgotten this, because when I was at John Rura the other day, she was also on a video conference working on just various engagement tasks. But she is doing both things right now too. So.
Dorothy, thank you very much. It was filled with lots of useful information. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. Next up is procurement.
Good morning, everyone. This is Joe Vogel, the Interim Director of Procurement. There are 4 items today on the agenda. The first are food permits. 180 food permits and 120 food manager IDs purchased from Baltimore City Health Department for our food service facilities. Total cost is $57,990.
During what period of time does this cover?
This will cover July 1 of 2020 through June 30th of 2021. They're 1-year permits.
Okay, so this is for our upcoming school year for all of our schools.
Correct.
Okay.
Joe, good morning. This is Commissioner Roberts. One small question. What is the difference between the high priority and the moderate priority food permits?
Liz, you on the that I don't
Hi,
know.
this is
Are
Liz
you on the?
Marchetta.
There you go.
I'm the Executive Director of Food Services. I'm happy to answer that question. The Health Department assigns priority depending on the specific type of meal service at an operation, as well as the population that might be served for it. So depending from year to year, we really, like as we set out for the new school year, we'll send them the list of sites and they will kind of assess back to us which ones require the high priority versus moderate priority. There are certain sites that might have students that might be more medically fragile and that might require things like pureeing of meals. So a lot of it really has to do with that, although they do a determination at the site level.
Thank you.
All right. The next item is a request to piggyback an Anne Arundel County Public Schools competitively solicited contract with Schmidt Baking Company. This is for bread products for our cafeterias. Total contract amount is $2 million, and the contract term is July 1 of 2020 through June 30th of 2022, and it has 3 1-year renewal options. Okay, the next item is a competitive solicited contract with Colossal Contractors, Keller Construction Services, Montage, and Tito Contractors to provide multi-trade building renovation and repair services in our school buildings. The estimated contract amount is $12 million, and the contract term is May 13th of 2020 through May 12th of 2023 with 1 2-year renewal option. MBE goal for this is 27% MBE, 10% WBE. All vendors have agreed to meet that. And Tito Contractors, one of the primes, is an MBE, city certified MBE. The next item is a competitive solicited contract with Denver Ellick, and the total amount of $1,569,150, and it's for boiler replacement services at Frederick Douglass High School. The MBE goals for this are 26%, with 7% sub-goal of African American and 4% Asian American. Denver Ellick has agreed to meet these goals. In fact, they are meeting the African American goal of request of 7%. They're going to meet it with a 22% goal. And Denver Ellick is not a certified MBE. And those are the items.
Could we go back to the multi-trade for a moment?
Yes. Mhm.
Two questions. One question, if you could just remind us what it means to be a requirements contract. And secondly, do you know if there are projects for which this $12 million is already assigned? Are there existing projects or are these future projects that are not yet known necessarily?
Blaine, are you in this call?
This is Blaine Lipsky with operations. The projects that will be identified will be for work either through agent school projects, possibly CIP projects up to a certain amount, and projects that once the budget's finalized, we can engage in operations. We don't have specific items yet. However, throughout the course of the year and years ongoing, there are projects such as, for example, we have the special election coming up. We need to build some things for Board of Elections at the last minute, and we had the contractors come in. So there's work throughout the district. It's just a matter of what's prioritized and what's funded. Our requirements contract, Andy, is the contract that once it's approved, it allows us to go to them with a blanket order to provide work without going out to solicit other goods or services throughout the in a pinch. So basically, it mentioned it was a publicly solicited contract. We're asking the board approval to recognize these companies as approved vendors to provide us services.
Okay.
And that's basically a requirements vendor.
All right, thank you. Are there other questions?
It's much like in the some other organizations call it an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity.
I'm looking at the Denver Ellick, and I guess I don't know if I've asked this in the past. Is there some way I could get a list of your top 10 vendors? Because I see Denver Ellick a lot, and I guess the question is, in aggregate, what do we do with our top 10, and who are they, and how much they make?
For construction contracts, sir?
Anything in a procurement agenda.
I got you. Okay. Yes, let me put something together for you and I can send it through, Joe, to you then, Joe Straight.
That's fine with me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we did send that list last year. I'll resend that one, and I'll work with Joe Vogel to make sure that it's the most recent one. But we honored that request last year.
Okay, I'm sorry I missed it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's it for the procurement agenda.
That's it for our agenda except for public comment. Christian, how do we do this? We're an hour ahead of time.
Commissioner Frank, no one signed up for public comment.
Okay. Well, that completes our agenda. Thank you all very much for presenting. Thank you, Commissioner. Our next meeting is May 19th, 2020, another virtual meeting. On the agenda is a comprehensive educational facility master plan and CIP year in review and year forward. So with that, I think we're done. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.